Hey, what's up, guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my review of this week's episode of the Vampire Diaries on the CW. This week we've seen Season 8, Episode 9, which was called the simple intimacy of the near touch. And got off of work at 5:30 today, so I was able to actually watch the episode when it aired, which is actually, pretty fucking nice. So yeah, overall I actually enjoyed this episode quite a bit. I've kind of commented on my thoughts on the season, like with each video I do, but I'll say it again. Overall, I think this season's been pretty decent. Not the best, but I think certainly as far as story and antagonists go, I think it's a little bit more stable than what they did with season 6 and 7 for the most part anyway, and probably 5 too. Again, minus the Catherine stuff, which I love. But and this episode is probably one of the best of the season so far, I think, minus 1 or 2 in the first half. You can go back and watch the reviews I did on those. I have reviewed every episode so far since season 7. But I probably love this episode, probably in part due to nostalgia, because a big focus of this episode was on the Miss Mystic Falls pageant, and of course this is a big tie back into season 1. I think they did this season 1 episode 19. I think I'm about 90% sure I'm right on this. Let me just make sure though. Okay, season 1, episode 19. Yep, I was right. Hey, I'm actually a fan. Anyway. Of course, this is a big, Elena moment, with their dance and such. And, I like the music they put with that original scene. So this really played on Damon's character well in this episode because of that nostalgia, because of that tie back into that major memory, not just for us fans, but for, Damon himself. And as Stefan tells Sybil, she made a mistake in bringing him here because this place sort of acts as a new barrier, for Sybil messing with his mind, because Elena, his last shred of humanity, that's still finding a way to glitch through, Sybil's mind control, system or whatever it is now even stronger because of, the source, because of being in this place. Which I found to be really good because, as I said last week, I'm glad we're not going to be seeing Damon just under control, for the rest of the season to the end of the series until Elena likely saves him. So I'm glad we're getting Damon the way we seen him grow over the seasons and such now. He's definitely going to have issues next week, but he's not, just a puppet for Sybil anymore, which is great. We'll talk more about those specific moments of nostalgia in a few minutes here. But we had some other stuff going on as well. We had Matt still looking into things. I'll admit I didn't really pay as much attention to that stuff. But, it was fine, with, Larik's assistant, eventually crossing paths with them and such. And then we also had Bonnie, she returned from Paris, from her vacation with Enzo and such. And that was another focus of the episode. Enzo gave her this vial of his blood, which is at first just thought to symbolize, oh, I'll always be with you, or you have my blood, sort of kind of thing, I guess. But really it meant more, he could sort of connect the dots, This is an insurance policy for Enzo, that if something were to happen to Bonnie and he's not around to, heal her or, feed her his blood, then maybe someone else could use that or something. But also the idea that, or the proposal that Bonnie could turn into a vampire and spend an eternity with him, instead of Enzo eventually having to worry about what's going to happen when Bonnie's another 60, 70 years are up, And this is also part of another sort of fan theory of how things are sort of going to play out by the end of the show. They think that Bonnie is going to be, killed or nearly killed, and then someone will have to turn into a vampire to save her, thus waking Elena, but Bonnie not having to be dead yet. That would make sense, and it seems like people are pretty convinced of that. But as I mentioned in this episode, they sort of address that idea that Kai did mention that there can't be any loopholes with the curse or the spell he put on Elena and such. So I figure Bonnie just turning into a vampire is one of those. It's like one of the obvious ones that shouldn't work if that's true, right? Then again, maybe Kate is lying. Maybe Bonnie will have to be turned into a vampire, and Elena will somehow wake up anyway. I still think it could go that way, but I'm thinking they're probably gonna find a different way to do it, but I could be wrong. And of course, Bonnie, she's still very much selfless. She does want to, spend an eternity with Enzo if she could, but she's not gonna, put Elena's awakening off, just to live what she wants to, if it means Elena will still have to be asleep. So that stuff was pretty good as well, and they eventually, sort of, mend the fences again towards the end of the episode, and Bonnie even brings up the idea of Enzo taking the cure and turning into a human, so he gets to spend 60, 70 years with her, then he doesn't have to exist without her after that point. And I think that might be resolved as well, but we'll have to see again how they do it. They could easily throw a twist and have Elena wake up somehow anyway. Like I said, I don't know, I don't work on the show, but there's definitely more than one way this could go for sure. But like I said, I think the highlight of the episode is definitely Damon. And over the past couple of episodes, it reminded me of how much I actually love the character. As I've said before, at one point Stefan was becoming my favorite on TVD. But I'm just remembering how much Damon actually does kind of mean to me. Klaus is my favorite character in this whole universe by far. But originally when I watched the Vampire Diaries, I was, I do like Stefan for sure, but I was at first just interested in Stefan, and then just Damon's development initially in season 1 is sort of what really hooked me on the show. I already did like it, but Damon and what they did with him early on is what sort of drove me and got me as into it as I was at that point. And so these tiebacks to some of the earlier stuff are just really helping, for sure. And I'm definitely going to do like a top 10 TVD and originals characters, once Vampire Diaries does end in March. But we'll talk about that when the time comes. But like I said, I like these moments, like we see these flashes of Elena, these scenes cut from the episode and such. Like her walking down, stairs and stuff in that blue dress, which Sybil is wearing basically as a taunt. So I like that. Then, of course, the best part of it is when Damon and Sybil go upstairs to retrieve the thing that could actually mess with the mind control further. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly what it's called. But before that, we actually see I think it's Stefan. He breaks the necklace, but luckily Caroline tries to hang into Damon's head about still reminding him what that love can do and such. And it was nice to see Caroline actually sort of supporting Damon coming back to that place of himself, acknowledging that there is good in him. Because so many times throughout the seasons, Caroline's always been annoying with, despite how much my best friend sees in him, apparently, I'm still going to say Damon's a bad influence. But now she's trying to, trigger that good part of him. So, I don't know. But of course, we do see Damon and Caroline dance as well. Luckily, they don't try to put any romantic spin on it. That'd just be bad. But again, it's just Caroline's trying to remind Damon of how much Elena does mean to him and such, basically. And, we also had Caroline in this episode trying to help this woman at the pageant who Stefan does turn into a vampire, but Caroline eventually takes her under her wing and convinces her that she still has a chance to have a life despite being a vampire. And then Damon, like I said, he leads Sybil upstairs and ends up knocking her out. And this apparently did break the hold on Damon, which is good. But then, of course, Sybil reminds him of the anguish he could potentially be going through if his humanity is back, just again being ridden with this guild and sort of wrestling with himself as we see it, what is going to be the focus of next week. But like I said, I really did like this episode, and I know I'm missing some things. I know I didn't talk about everything, but I just wanted to get out there what I particularly enjoyed. And of course, as always, if there's anything more I didn't mention, you guys can feel free to leave a comment. I always enjoy talking about it more each week. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this episode. I'd give it like I think like 8.7 is about right for me. But yeah, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.